Dealing with the condition itself is not enough.
Dear Mr. Massa, I'm just trying to mind my own business. What's the matter? It's just another day, another black king captured. I'm about to lose my brain, stuck inside this ghetto rapture. I got a lot of smoke. If you want it, you can have it. They want a hat trick, but this is black girl magic. Ain't talking about the kind that'll make you disappear, but I'm talking about the power of the melanin within. Ain't looking for trouble, but I'ma say this one time. I put two dukes up if you try to touch mine. We still want justice for Samir and Trayvon. You say you don't see color, but racism ain't blind. They targeting little kids whose skin look just like mine. So I'm paranoid, it's a war zone outside. And I'm a black queen, so if you ask me to step out of my car, you gon' have to snatch me. Cause I ain't going no damn well. Had to spend my whole life living unfair. Ancestors got my back and they right here. You can never understand, it's a nightmare. Living in my black shoes by the black rules. You can keep your handshake, I don't dap coon. The white man to go nuts if he cash you. But you all on his side like a damn fool. Make it make sense.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden.
Make it make
Queen.
We are
sense.
denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us is come together
Queen.
against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your
Ahmadiyyah.
hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin?
Ahmadiyyah.
Parents, pay attention to the books, the school system, even to your little children. Lies mixed with wisdom. His skin too bright, so he was blind to the prison. My skin just right, so I collide with division. You trying to pray to God, but we tired of religion. No savior saving, we got to save our savings. We used to pay miss, how we gon' make the slave rich? But who's to blame, and tell me why you complaining? We need a team effort just to rule the nation. Like a bad relationship, missing communication. We missing moderation. They're trying to get a poison to my population. No reparations. I'm getting tired of Satan.
We are oppressed.
I'm
Queen.
getting tired of waiting.
We are downtrodden.
Queen.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
We get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation.
All right, hello everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time Queen Goddess goes live. All right, now let's see who is in here. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you. All right, we the people, Red Wine Entertainment, Danielle G from the land. All right, BiBi is here. Let's get into it. We the people, did I say you? Okay, Desmond. Shout out to, hey, Quiet Storm. Shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Okay, Nessa G. Let's get into it. Everybody hit that like button. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And also double check to make sure you're still subscribed, especially if you have not been receiving the notifications. I just noticed this morning that ScrewTube is still unsubscribing people. All right. Hello, Juju. Nessa G, did I say you? All right. So with that all being said, let's get ready to get into it. I see you, Terry Hidden, that Crazy Beach Aries, Trisha. All right. With that all being said, Buckhorse DC, I see you, honey. It's your nefarious self. Okay, Hadassah is here. Nessie X. Okay, so before we get started, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. Here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so with that all being said, don't forget that you can purchase 12 Tribes Hair Oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil as well. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is Carmelo Anthony because they started jury selection today Okay, and so even though I don't have it in the thumbnail, let's get into it. And I'm just real curious right now how this is all going to turn out, especially since we see what happened with the Rick Child case. Okay, with that whole trial. So let's get into it.
Profile murder trials North Texas has seen in years begins tomorrow in Collin County. 18-year-old Carmelo Anthony faces a first-degree murder charge connected to the April 2025 stabbing death of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet in Frisco. Jury selection is set to start first thing tomorrow morning. Tonight, a look back at the case, the fallout, and the legal fight ahead. It was the kind of story that moved fast, first through Frisco, across North Texas, then nationally.
It took my soul too. I'm so sorry.
A fight under a team tent, a knife, and a 17-year-old student athlete who died in his twin brother's arms.
He was going to turn out to be a great individual.
Austin Metcalf was a student at Frisco's Memorial High School. Police say he was stabbed on April 2nd, 2025, during a district track meet at Kirkendall Stadium. Investigators say Carmelo Anthony, then also 17, was sitting under a tent for a school he did not attend. According to eyewitnesses, Metcalf told him to leave. What happened next will be at the center of this murder trial. Police say Anthony fatally stabbed Metcalf once in the chest. His father, Jeff, expressing his disbelief to Fox 4.
I told him it's not goodbye. It's see you later.
Online, the case exploded. Rumors raced ahead of facts. From jail, Carmelo Anthony claimed self-defense and was held on a $1 million bond. But 12 days after the crime, he was released on house arrest after a judge reduced his bail to $250,000, in part because of his clean record. 3 days later, a press conference was called on his parents' behalf. They begged the public to turn down the temperature.
I don't know why we're being targeted and discriminated against before a fair trial.
Though the heat would only rise after Austin Metcalf's father showed up to a press conference and was escorted out by Dallas police for not having an invitation. Now, after months of relative quiet, the arguments move from online debate to a Collin County courtroom. Jury selection begins Monday and is expected to last 3 days. Former Dallas County Assistant DA Russell Wilson is not connected to the case, but says finding jurors who have not heard about it or have not formed opinions will be a challenge.
I actually believe you can certainly get somebody who believes that they are unbiased, but whether or not they actually are, you don't necessarily know until the actual case starts unfolding.
The defense is expected to lean hard into self-defense. In Texas, that shifts the burden to the state.
If self-defense is an issue in the case, the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it was not self-defense.
For prosecutors, it may all likely come down to the sequence of events under that tent.
They've got to come in and show, in essence, that the conduct that occurred prior to this incident did not warrant the amount of force that was used.
Strict rules are in place. No cameras inside the courtroom. There's also discussion about limiting other electronic devices, all to preserve order and keep the case from turning into a courthouse spectacle.
For the lawyer's perspective, part of it is to try to shut out the noise.
Noise in the court of public opinion about to shift to a real court. So Fox 4 will bring you extensive coverage of the Anthony trial. You can keep up with the latest court developments on fox4news.com, our socials, and the free Fox Local app for your smartphone, tablet, and connected TV.
Deep discount furniture and mattress.
Okay, so now with that all being said, I'm going to go to this clip of what this attorney had to say, because he had a lot to say and none of it was good. Okay, but of course, He wasn't speaking based off of the facts, in my opinion. I feel like he was speaking based off of what the media has been putting out there. And the media has not been putting out the facts according to sources. Okay, so let's get into it.
This case is going to come down to is going to remind us of what happened in the O.J. Simpson case. The race card is going to be played here.
A Texas student athlete charged with stabbing a football star from a rival high school to death is set to face trial this week. Carmelo Anthony, then a 17-year-old senior from Frisco Centennial High School, stabbed Frisco Memorial High schooler Austin Metcalf on April 2nd, 2025. After Metcalf asked Anthony to leave his team's tent during a track meet, prosecutors have claimed. Witnesses say Anthony told Metcalf, quote, "Touch me and see what happens," while reaching inside his bag before a brief scuffle, in which Anthony stabbed Metcalf in the chest with a knife. Anthony then allegedly fled as Metcalf bled out in his twin brother's arms. The case kicked off a major racial uproar online, with donations pouring in to defend Anthony. A family spokesman said last year that the money would go to, quote, "stand with us in the fight against white supremacy." As Anthony's lawyers say he acted in self-defense, the New York Post spoke with a criminal defense attorney to break down the case.
Hi, my name is Randy Zellin. I am a criminal defense attorney. I have been practicing for 38 years. I am a former prosecutor, and I have been an adjunct professor at Cornell University School of Law. First of all, when we're talking about justification, self-defense, what I am saying as a defendant is that I had a reasonable belief that someone was going to immediately hurt me. That is justification against ordinary force. Now, up that ante. If I use deadly force on someone, if I kill someone, and my defense is self-defense or justification, the jury has to be not convinced, if you will, by the government that I acted reasonably, that I reasonably believed that I was about to be killed. And as a result of that reasonable belief that I was about to be killed, I killed first. I killed in self-defense. So the first issue I see here, from what we know, this was a verbal altercation where it almost seems like the defendant was provoking the incident himself by allegedly saying, "Touch me and see what happens," as he's reaching into a bag. And then apparently he was touched. Touching someone is not deadly force. You cannot meet deadly force. You cannot stab someone in the chest and kill them because they touch you. They've got to be coming at you with a knife. They've got to be coming at you with a gun. They've got to be coming at you with a metal pipe to split your head open.
First of all, no, they don't. Second of all, here's the thing. They don't have to be coming at you with a gun. They don't have to be coming at you with a metal pipe. Okay, at least that's not the case when it's white people saying that it was self-defense. They could absolutely murder someone who's completely unarmed as well. Now, here's the thing. This guy's clearly racist, in my opinion. First off, he comes out saying the race card's going to be played. Then he brings up the OJ just to stir racial tensions even more so than they already are. Then he says that this all started over words and that Carmelo was the one who seemed to be the provocateur, saying, "Touch me and see what happens." Well, here's the thing. If somebody says, "Touch me and see what happens," that means that the person they're talking to threatened to touch them. And I don't mean like a tap on the shoulder. Okay, that's for number one. So that's the provocateur. But also, it's important to note that he didn't just touch him. There were punches thrown. Okay, so I'm sorry. Either he has inaccurate information or he's purposely trying to paint a narrative, and I believe it's the latter. But let's continue.
You can't be justified in killing someone with a knife and stabbing them in the chest if they were not about to immediately use deadly force on you. Then now take the opposite end. We see at the beginning, whether or not the defendant was justified. And at the end, we see something called consciousness of guilt. The fact that he fled the scene, to me, cuts against a self-defense, a justification defense, because if I acted innocently and I just stabbed someone because I thought they were going to kill me, I don't think I would run. So I don't think that the defendant's sense was reasonable, that he was about to be killed, nor do I think his behavior afterwards is consistent.
Now, I wonder what he thinks of the Rick Chow verdicts. I wonder how he feels about that. I'm sure he has no problem. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, Carmelo ran out of fear. He was the only black person under that tent. Now, imagine being the only black person under a tent with two racist thugs, okay? That would be the Metcalf brothers, all right? They were racist. They were calling him the N-word and putting hands on him. Now, imagine that. Then you, defending yourself, stab one of them. Are you really going to hang around while the rest of the white folk there, who are likely racist too, because how come nobody tried to intervene when they first started harassing Carmelo? So are you just going to run? Okay, maybe he thought they were all going to jump him. Who knows what he was thinking? But for him to sit there and just speculate, that's what he's doing. This is nothing more than a whole lot of speculation. Okay, this isn't legal talk. This isn't legalese. He's just giving his opinion, which is biased, obviously. Okay, and a whole lot of speculation. This is not expert legal information. Okay, please pay attention.
Is equally unreasonable from the standpoint of behaving like someone who is innocent. What the defendant was doing with a knife on him.
And let me say, innocent people run all of the time. Think about Cyrus Carmack Belton. He was running and he was absolutely innocent, but he still got killed. Now he's saying, what was he doing bringing the knife? He didn't bring the knife. It was already there. They used it to put up the tents, but let's let him cook.
I think is going to be telling. So you have the absence of the ability to use deadly force versus someone having deadly force immediately on hand at a high school track meet. So unless he was a chef, unless he was a fisherman, what is he doing with a knife that is capable of killing someone with apparently one strike? So that's going to be another hurdle that I see the defense having to overcome. But if we're going to play this case down the middle, I think a lot of what this case is going to come down to is going to remind us of what happened in the O.J. Simpson case. The race card is going to be played here. And I do believe that the defense is going to be looking for a jury that's going to say, I don't know what happened here, and I don't even care what happened here, but I am so tired of white people doing things to black people, and it's the black people that end up on trial, and it's not right and it's not fair. It's something.
The fact that he just sat there and said that this is the type of jurors that the defense is going to be looking for lets you know that that's exactly what happens. And yeah, we are tired, by the way, so they won't have to look far. But let's continue.
Called jury nullification. And I do believe that race has already been and will continue to be a very big issue in this case. It's not fair to the prosecution. I don't think it's fair, quite frankly, to any race where a defendant is playing that card. But as a defense attorney, that ain't my job. My job is to get my client off by any means.
No, black people are having him as their attorney at the end of the day. This man's clearly racist, and he's a whole piece of ish as far as I'm concerned. Now, the fact of the matter is, Carmelo's not the one playing the race card, and neither is his family. The people playing the race card are the white folk. The white folk are the ones playing the race card in this scenario. They're all mad because a white person lost their life after they acted as a whole provocateur and put hands on somebody that's black, and they got taken out. Now, I'm sorry, but if they didn't have a problem with Daniel Penny and what he did on the subway to an innocent man who was just talking loudly, okay, he wasn't posing an imminent threat. He didn't come at somebody with a gun. He didn't come at somebody with a lead pipe like he's saying. Okay, so clearly you don't need all of that for self-defense. I just want you all to pay attention. Now, also, I was reading the comments on that post, and it was nothing but racist devils, MAGA types out there saying, oh, he should have never been let out of jail in the first place. Oh, he needs to go to prison. Oh, he better not get off, and all this crazy stuff. So I just want you all to pay attention because this is not going to go well. And I've already told you that by the fact that they charged him with murder in the first, isn't that what they still charged him with? Hold on, let me just double check. Like up, everyone, please. Like and share. Now, with that all being said, here's the thing. I believe, yes, they charged him with first-degree murder. Okay, so let me just tell you why they did that. I've already told you all this, but let's just go back to it. First of all, I do believe that they charged him with first-degree murder because it wasn't first-degree murder. You see, for it to be first-degree murder, he'd have had to either lie in wait or plan this whole thing out in advance. Now, you don't have to plan it for weeks ahead. You could literally premeditate a murder in like minutes. You understand? Somebody could be doing something and you could formulate in your mind and say, if this mother sucker does this again, I'm about to kill him. You could literally do that. But so that's what they're probably going to try to pull. But the bottom line is they also chose murder in the first because they know that the jurors are likely not going to see it that way. Okay, they're likely not going to believe that it was premeditated, which it wasn't, in my opinion. And so with that being said, that will give them room to make it a lesser charge because they just want to make sure that he goes to prison for something. They want to ruin his life. Okay, so that's what that is, because this was absolutely self-defense from the evidence that I've heard and that you all have heard as well. So let's go back to that, because if you remember, Quanell X, the activist from Texas, basically came out and said that he had information from witnesses. And what they said was very much in contrast to what that attorney just said. Okay, so let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Here we go. I'm going to use an overlay. Actually, I'm not going to use an overlay. Let's just go.
Rittenhouse, after he killed 2 people in cold blood, he raised over $1 million. Wait a minute. The officer who killed Michael Brown, he raised almost $2 million. So don't tell me that when black folks decide to put money and support behind a young brother who didn't start a fight, who didn't threaten nobody, who was sitting where he could have right to be sitting, was threatened more than one time, was physically attacked, he defends himself, and then all of a sudden he's in jail for murder. But guess what, brother? We gonna stand behind ours like you white folks stand behind yours.
Okay, let me
that
be
young
clear.
brother was attacked.
I know you're yelling because you really get worked up when you're lying.
But
let me say,
let me say very clear. But then it's justified.
Us killing
but when we defend ourselves,
now,
it's murder.
That is an absolute fact. Okay, when black people defend themselves against white people and the white person loses the battle, then it's always murder. But when they do it in the reverse, it's always self-defense. Okay, please pay attention 9 times out of the 10. Okay, so with that all being said, let's get into this because Trump cursed out Satan Yahoo. Okay, Trump cursed out Satan Yahoo. And all I'm going to say about that is Trump better watch his back. Okay, he better watch his back. Okay, because we know how they get down. Satan Yahoo, that is. How he gets down specifically. Let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. I've been waiting for this moment. I knew it was coming. 2 narcissists? Yeah, there was bound to be something.
With Iran is what now and what next? Iranian state media is signaling that talks to end the war are now back on track. That's just after reports that Iran had suspended talks with the United States over Israel's offensive in southern Lebanon. And according to Axios, President Trump just yesterday unloaded on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over this, with expletives flying over the phone. Axios reports that Trump demanded that Netanyahu back off his plans to take his attacks and offensive against Hezbollah straight to the center of Beirut. A U.S. official summarized the call this way to Axios, that Trump told Netanyahu, quote, "You're effing crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this." Joining us now is one of the reporters who broke this news, global affairs correspondent for Axios, Barack.
Well, I can say this is one time Trump didn't lie, okay? That statement that he said was absolutely correct. All right, now let's see how this all pans out, because I'm here for it.
Read. Quite the read, Barack, of course, and quite the call. I mean, is this how these two leaders speak to each other often?
Well, I don't know if often, but it's not the first difficult and tough call they had, although a senior U.S. official told me yesterday that it was definitely one of the worst calls they had, and that maybe there was one call over the war in Gaza that was more difficult than the call yesterday. And I think what led to this is a growing feeling that the president had that Netanyahu is out of control. I heard it from several of the president's people. And Trump, at the end of the day, wants to end the war with Iran and to de-escalate in the region more broadly. And he felt that what Netanyahu is doing in Lebanon and his plan to escalate the war further by expanding the Israeli ground operation in southern Lebanon and by going on a massive bombing campaign in the center of Beirut, knocking down buildings, that is disproportionate, and that would cause an escalation that would undermine what the president was trying to do with getting a deal with Iran. I think this is how the president went in to this call yesterday with Netanyahu, yesterday around noon, and he told Netanyahu that he needs to stand down and that he needs to understand that this war broadly in the region has to come to an end, and that you cannot just continue it. And over this call, Trump used the F word several times, told Netanyahu he's effing crazy, mentioned the fact that he helped him numerous times regarding his pardon request in his corruption trial. And therefore, what I heard from U.S. officials and what I heard, and my colleague Mark Caputo, who worked with me on the story, what we heard is that Trump message to Netanyahu was that by doing what he's doing in Lebanon, he's being ungrateful to all the assistance Trump gave him on the pardon issue. And I think this is also what led to the mention of, if not for me, you would have been in prison by now.
That does sound very Trump-esque, of saying you have not been grateful or shown.
Listen, at the end of the day, absolutely he would be in prison if it wasn't for this war, like I've been telling you all, and that's why he wants it to continue, and this is why he doesn't want a ceasefire. He doesn't want any peaceful negotiations. All he wants is chaos, mischief, and madness, and murder, okay, and blood. That's what Netanyahu's always wanted. That's why he keeps up all of this BS over there in the Middle East, okay, at the end of the day. But Trump's a fool for ever getting started with this war, and now he doesn't know how to get out of it. Trisha said cursing him out's not doing anything. Send the troops home and let them fight their own war. Exactly. Yeah. Send the troops home. That's what you do about that. Okay, that's what you do about that. And here's the bottom line. You know, the UN has blacklisted Russia and it's not real. Now, I don't know why they blacklisted Russia. I guess because of what's going on with Ukraine. But they have blacklisted them, and BiBi has said that the It's Not Reals, they have basically said they're severing ties with the UN. Okay, so I find that all interesting. Hold on. Let me pull that up real quick. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Okay, I'll have to go back to that in a moment. But let's go to Mayor Mamdani in New York. The It's Not Reals are upset with him because he didn't go to the It's Not Real Day parade. And they say this is like the first time in, I believe, 60 years that a mayor hasn't shown up. Well, you know, Mamdani has made it no secret how he feels about them. Okay, and that he's pro-Palestinian. Okay, so please pay attention. Uh, let's get into it because they are beyond livid, according to reports. Here we go.
His true colors. I think it's the first mayor that didn't come to the Israel parade. I think it's a big issue for us New Yorkers here.
It's very disappointing, and as a New Yorker, you know, there's so many Jews here. It's like really upsetting to see that our mayor won't come.
Firestorm has erupted in New York City as Mayor Zohran Mamdani broke more than 6 decades of tradition by skipping the city's annual Israel Day on 5th Parade. For the first time in 62 years, a sitting New York City mayor did not attend the event held on May 31st, an occasion long seen as a symbolic show of solidarity and civic unity. The parade, which celebrates the founding of the State of Israel in 1948, still went ahead along Fifth Avenue, with thousands lining the streets waving American and Israeli flags as floats, music, and banners filled Manhattan with color and sound. But the mayor's absence quickly became the focal point of the day, drawing sharp reactions from attendees and participants who viewed the tradition as an important gesture from City Hall. This year's theme, Proud Americans, Proud Zionists, added further weight to an already politically charged atmosphere, turning what is usually a celebratory procession into a moment of heated public debate over symbolism, leadership, and political messaging in New York City.
Regardless of how you feel about the government, I think it would be silly to associate the two about being supportive of Jews. And, you know, Zionism is about supporting and believing in our state of Israel as Jewish people, and I think that it shouldn't be confused.
We're going to stand up and make sure that you're protected on our streets and in our subways and in our schools, in our community centers, because this is who we are, my friends, and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. We stand up.
Nauseating. But anyway, with that all being said, listen, he didn't go because he didn't want to. Quite frankly, that's his prerogative. But what I find interesting is rather than them talking about who didn't come, they should have maybe focused on who did come. Okay, but that's what they chose not to do. Okay, that's what they chose not to do. Now, with that all being said, they have been blacklisted, as I was telling you all. Okay, let's get into it. It's Not Real and Russian forces added to UN blacklist for sexual violence in conflict zones. So, an annual United Nations report documenting sexual violence in conflicts worldwide has included It's Not Real forces for the first time since the review began more than 15 years ago. Now, why are they just now putting them in there? Why are they just now putting them in there when it's been 15 years that they've already had this? So goes on to say that the 35-page report shared by the It's Not Real mission to the UN late Thursday ahead of its expected release on Friday blacklists 77 government and non-government parties, okay, in a dozen countries suspected of committing or being responsible for sexual violence in conflicts around the world. It says the number of cases rose sharply in 2025 from 2024. Now, Russian armed and security forces were also blacklisted for the first time this year for sexual violence against prisoners of war and civilians detained during the war in Ukraine. They say the list for 2025 includes It's Not Real's army and security forces, as well as Hamas militants who were previously blacklisted after the attack in It's Not Real on October the 7th of 2025. I'm sorry, 2023, which sparked the war in Gaza. that Satan Yahoo was waiting for. Pay attention. Now, both It's Not Real and Russia were warned in last year's report by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres that they could be put on the list. So the ambassadors of both countries expressed outrage at their inclusion and lashed out at Gutierrez, saying, "We will write a letter to the Secretary General saying that these are unsubstantiated lies and alleged things which again portray Russia as a villain, like they do all the time." This is what Russia's UN ambassador Vasily Nebenzia said. He said Russia is documenting and preparing a report on how the Ukrainians are treating Russian prisoners of war. I believe it. I believe it. Okay, I don't care for Ukraine. Ukraine is full of wanton supremacists, and let us never forget how they treated the Africans during the pandemic. Okay, that's why I never cheer for them. And so, speaking of that, do you all remember how when the war on Ukraine started, there were all these little banners and things going up on channels all over ScrewTube? StreamYard was having it, support Ukraine. But it's interesting that now that America's involved in a war, you don't see that anywhere. They don't even shout out themselves, but they were shouting at Ukraine. But let me continue. So anyway, goes on to say, we are done with this UN Secretary General. This is what Danny Danon. Now, the first was what the Russians said about Ukraine is doing some nefarious things to the Russian prisoners, and they're writing this letter. But now here's what the It's Not Real say. We're done with this UN Secretary General Danny Danon, the Israeli ambassador to the UN, said in a statement on social media, saying Gutierrez has put It's Not Real on the same blacklist along with Hamas, ISIS, and the most depraved terrorist organizations in the world. Gutierrez's second 5-year term ends in December. Okay, December 31st. So with that all been said, say what now? He said that he put them with the same blacklist alongside Hamas and ISIS, the most depraved organizations in the world. So you mean to tell me ISIS and Hamas are worse than BiBi? They must be a piece of work. Okay, they must be a piece of work. Of course, they're not worse than BiBi. Okay, nobody on this planet is. Okay, and the IDF nefarious soldiers. Okay, now with that all being said, Danon said It's Not Real had provided documents, data, and detailed responses to the allegations that are raised in the report. Oh, but what about the 200 plus journalists that have been killed? So they can tell the stories of what was really going on. Okay, please, I think that alone speaks for itself. Now, the report said in 2025, the UN was able to document patterns of sexual violence against Palestinians detained in It's Not Real and the occupied Palestinian territories, and verified multiple incidents of conflict related sexual violence, including as a form of torture. Okay, inflicted on 14 men, 7 women, 9 boys, and 1 girl from Gaza and the West Bank. This is absolutely so sick and disgusting. Doing these depraved things to children. It said 13 cases occurred in 2025 and 18 in 2023 and 2024. I'm sure there were more. Okay, I'm sure there were more. Now, that all being said, violations consisted of rape, including with objects, gang rape, attempted rape, physical violence to the genitals. And you all know that we already know this because the IDF soldiers bragged about it, what they did to one of the Palestinian men who was in prison. And also they used a knife on him from the back door after they gangbanged. Okay. And it's all on film. So when BiBi's talking about he's going to sue, he's not going to sue. He's not going to sue because he knows that film is out there. And they let those soldiers get off. It is not real. Okay, they walked and they cheered and were hailed as heroes. Okay, so I'm sorry, who's the most nefarious terrorist organization again? But anyway, I digress. So then goes on to say, It's Not Real's foreign ministry said Thursday it has comprehensively, thoroughly, and unequivocally refuted these allegations. Well, they can refute it all they want. We know the videos out there. Saying this decision, he's not going to sue also because he does not want the discovery period to show what's really going on. You see, then you have to start laying out all the evidence and facts and receipts. So this decision is yet another example of the UN's long-standing institutionalized hostility toward It's Not Real. That's what the foreign ministry wrote on X. Now, the report again includes accusations of sexual violence by Hamas, but says many of the details could not be independently confirmed because the It's Not Real government continues to deny the UN the access it needs to carry out investigations. So we're supposed to just take their word? That's crazy. Okay. Now, it says the Russian authorities also consistently deny access to UN human rights investigators, according to the report, but they still were able to verify 310 cases of conflict-related sexual violence in Russia and Russian-occupied areas of Ukraine against prisoners of war and civilian detainees. The vast majority of the victims were men, according to the report. Now, human rights monitors in Ukraine documented 31 cases of conflict-related sexual violence against prisoners of war and civilian detainees, the majority of which occurred prior to 2025, according to the report. Ukraine has not been put on the UN blacklist. Now, here's the thing. They're doing the same thing. I promise you. Ukraine is doing exactly the same thing. Now, with that all being said, at least in my opinion, they are. With that being said, listen, they said they're severing ties. They're no longer dealing with it. And what I find interesting is that these things have been allowed to go on and fester. Okay, because they've had a program for 15 years where they could have put these people on the list a long time ago, but they're just now doing it. I find it very interesting, like I said. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, let's continue. Let's continue because there's another report about Trump's profanity-laced phone call. Let's see what they're saying. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you. Now, this report is from WHAS 11. Here we go.
Remain high amid new efforts this morning to keep the shaky ceasefire with Iran from collapsing after Israel escalated its attack into Lebanon. Sources tell ABC News that President Trump had a fiery phone call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, where Trump accused Netanyahu of being ungrateful, calling him crazy and asking Netanyahu, "What the expletive are you doing?" as he tried to stop Israel from bombing Lebanon. The call happening after Israel ordered more strikes against Iran-backed Hezbollah forces. This prompted Iranian leaders to threaten to call off negotiations with the U.S. entirely. Sources say Netanyahu insists Israel will not leave Lebanon, but President Trump says Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to not attack each other and claims talks with Iran are resuming at a rapid pace. Trump posted on social media, "I had a conversation with BiBi Netanyahu today, asking him not to go into a major raid of Beirut, Lebanon. He turned his troops around. Thank you, BiBi." Iran's foreign ministry blames the Israeli attacks and contradicting claims from Trump for delaying any deal. Ultimately, the stakes remain high. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed, gas prices are still high, and Iran has not agreed to anything involving nuclear weapons. Karen Hua, ABC News, Washington.
I hope nuclear weapons don't ever become a factor in any of this bullshit. Okay, that's what I hope. Now let's go to a few more war updates. Then we have to talk about these Mexican cartels. Okay, it's all getting out of hand.
Quick update on the war. It's Julie, former lieutenant commander, got out of the Navy after 10 years, was a helicopter pilot, and have crossed the Strait of Hormuz many times. Highly trained to fire Hellfire missiles. Yesterday, we fired a Hellfire missile at a cargo ship from Gambia. So whatever ceasefire we have doesn't stop us from firing missiles into ships from other countries. Not just even Iran that we're attacking, or Lebanon, or any of these other places, but it's also Gambia is just trying to get a cargo ship through, and we fired at them with a Hellfire missile. Meanwhile, there are so many cargo ships that are just stuck in the Persian Gulf. There was a captain of a cargo ship that said that when he finally got routed, he thought there was a 90% chance he was going to die. The civilian toll of this war is insane. Thousands of innocent civilians have been killed. Right in the beginning of his tenure, Hegseth, as Secretary of Defense, immediately gutted the program that cares about civilian harm mitigation. That saying that it got in the way of lethality might be why we bombed an all-girls school and killed 168 children the first day of the war. It's just horrible.
There's a lot going on. Here's some things you should know as we move into June 2nd. Iran has announced a pause or a suspension of indirect talks with the U.S., citing this country's actions in Lebanon and this place as violations of the ceasefire. Iran and their allies have threatened to completely block the Strait of Hormuz until this country halts operations. The U.S. has struck Iranian radar and drone sites. Iran launched missiles and drones at a U.S. base in Kuwait. Thankfully, they were intercepted. Iran also claimed they struck a U.S.-linked ship, but President Trump says negotiations are still ongoing. This country has pushed further into southern Lebanon, capturing the Beaufort Castle, which is the deepest incursion in decades. It was reported that this guy ordered potential strikes on Beirut's southern suburbs, targeting Hezbollah, apparently. It was also reported that Hezbollah fired rockets and drones into the northern part of this country. President Trump announced after calls with this guy and Hezbollah reps that this country and Hezbollah have agreed to dial back attacks. Some rockets were still reported afterwards, and Iran has warned of responses if Beirut is hit. Ton happened today, but here's an interesting thing. China has sent synthetic embryos to space, apparently, as an experiment to see if humans can survive and reproduce outside of Earth, I guess. But stay safe.
The breaking news should be pretty obvious. Of course the Iran negotiations are breaking down. Why? Well, you're dealing with terrorists, but America is the only party here that needs this to end. Don't you understand? Look, forget about Trump. Forget about what he says, okay? None of it is credible. We know that. Okay, but he's also dealing with a bunch of zealots, which is why he should have thought more about going in alone and going in without a real plan and a real set of expectations. And as soon as Donald Trump said the regime will stay in place, this was over. He could have made the same deal that he's trying to make now then. Israel doesn't want this to end. They're not going to honor the ceasefire any more than they absolutely have to. Why? Because they want to attack their enemies as much as they can. And the regime has never been this relevant. We're the only ones who have to get out. But we do have to get out. So what will Trump do? Don't worry about what he says. Worry about what happens next.
Literally 1 second ago, this popped up, a Truth Social by Donald Trump saying that talks are being heavily negotiated. Literally 60 seconds ago. Iran has said they have stopped all negotiations with the USA. They're not talking to the USA anymore. They are done. They are done talking. They're going to close the extra exit. And the reason why this Truth Social post popped up is because gas prices are going back up today. The Exxon and CEO Mobil guy came out and said gas prices are going to be shooting up in the next month or two because of supply. This is a failed war. Just like I told you, 3 months ago, the U.S. has not won a war since World War II, and we had allies. Donald Trump needs to choose Israel or the USA, because his art of the deal is really truly just art of the steal. We have spent probably $90 billion. We're going to end up paying reparations to Iran for the damage we have caused. And we have structural damages as well, and inflation is skyrocketing. This is a failed administration. This is a failed war. And unfortunately, you cannot believe anything that this administration says. It's the worst one we've had in our lifetime. What are your thoughts on the Iran war? When will it end? Drop your comments below.
Israel threatened to bomb the Lebanese capital, but I don't think they will, and what this is Netanyahu's dirty little trick. You see, the Israelis want nothing more than to continue the war so the Americans can fight Iran for them. But the Americans doing a peace deal with the Iranians is the one thing the Israelis cannot have happen. And with both sides negotiating, he has to drive one of the sides back in the war. And it looks like the strategy could work because as of right now, the Iranians have suspended talks because of Israel blatantly violating the ceasefires in Lebanon, which now gives the impression to Trump that the Iranians are the ones that don't want to negotiate. This now gives Trump a reason to attack Iran because they're not negotiating anymore, but the only reason they're not is because of Israel's actions. If the Israelis can threaten Lebanon and bomb them hard enough, it forces Iran to try to save them and bomb Israel, which would force the Americans back into the war. But Trump will not give Netanyahu the permission to bomb Beirut, which now can prove if Israel bombs Beirut at any time this week to destroy negotiations, you heard it here from me, they did it to destroy everything.
President Trump is facing that showdown in Iran talks. President Trump telling me in a phone interview that if the Iranian regime wants to suspend negotiations with the U.S., as Iranian media has reported, he would be, quote, very happy with that. If they don't want to talk, that's okay with me, he told me. I don't particularly want to talk either. We talk too much. The president adding that the U.S. would, quote, just go silent. We'll keep the blockade of Iranian ports, but not resume bombing. Quote, I think I can wait as long as they want, he told me. They're losing a fortune. Their country is falling apart. CENTCOM says it has disabled 5 commercial vessels and redirected 121 others as part of the U.S. blockade. And this weekend, the U.S. launching self-defense strikes on Iran after Iranian forces shot down a U.S. drone. Iran also attacking its Arab neighbors again, firing at U.S. forces in Kuwait. But the president insisting time is on his side.
We're getting what we want slowly. Very tough negotiators. It takes a long time. I'm in no hurry.
So Trump's been blocking satellite coverage. Here's what he didn't want you to see. BBC bombshell report out today. 20 American bases across the Middle East, heavily damaged, far worse than Trump has admitted up to this point. And we don't know what this means for the troops. That's the scary thing. The article talks about what it means for weapon system and cost, and that's all bad. But I was in the Marines and in Congress. The first thought has to be, are our troops around those bases protected? And there's all kind of politicians that talk about how they'll stand up for the troops and give them what they need. Well, now is one of those times because Trump obviously doesn't know and doesn't care, and they've been lying about the casualties since the beginning of this war. But Congress has the purse strings, and before another dollar is spent on this war, they need to step up and demand the full truth of what's going on at these bases. So share this around and we can put pressure on them together.
Horrifying news out of New York right now that you need to know about, where Mayor Zohran Mamdani will not be attending the annual Israel Day parade taking place this Sunday, May 31st. But while the press aggressively covers who isn't attending the parade, not enough people are talking about who will be attending the parade. Members of the far-right extremist Israeli government, including fringe extremist members of the Knesset in Israel that have said some of the most dehumanizing things about Palestinians, including but not limited to Meirav Ben-Ari, who says, and the children in Gaza have brought this upon themselves. What about Ariel Kalner? He says, Gazans are plump and healthy. It's all nonsense. Whoever remains in the north, we will truly starve them. One goal Nakba, a Nakba that will overshadow the Nakba of 48, a Nakba in Gaza, and a Nakba for anyone who dares to join. What about Yitzhak Crozier? He says, I stand behind IDF soldiers in every situation, even if collateral damage includes children or women. It doesn't matter to me. There are no innocent civilians, no innocent children in Jenin. I have no sense of compassion for my enemies. And so this Israel Day parade in New York is not a group of peaceful Israeli citizens. We're talking about violent extremists. And next time somebody tells you that it's just Benjamin Netanyahu or it's just some members of the Israeli government, understand that the majority of Israel's government stands with what's going on. I commend the mayor for not going because the mayor probably has better things to do with his time. And I condone the press for failing to cover who is actually attending this parade.
Right. They only want to talk about who didn't go, which was Mayor Mamdani. Okay, please pay attention. Now, before I get into this whole thing about the Mexican cartels that I find very interesting, by the way, let's talk about this slush fund. Okay, so Trump has killed the slush fund deal, as I told you all on yesterday. But here's the thing. Now, why did he want this slush fund in the first place? Well, I'm so glad you asked. You see, the reason Trump wanted to give those thugs that money is because he knows. Please pay attention. He sees what's going on. He sees how many of his minions are turning against him. He sees them posting these videos talking about their buyer's remorse, how they have regret, how everything is out of pocket, how the prices are too high, they can't afford food. He sees all of this. Okay, he knows people are upset. He knows why, but he doesn't know what to really do about it because Satan Yahoo won't let him. So with that all being said, he knows that these people are the same people, of course, who went and rioted at the Capitol when the election didn't go their way. So he doesn't want these same people to turn on him. He doesn't want these same people to turn on him. He doesn't want to be on their bad side. Okay, so let me just go ahead and try to give them some money so they'll just, stay calm, even though I'm destroying everything from the inside out. That's what that was all about. Okay, that's what that was all about as far as I'm concerned. He was trying to keep them loyal, okay, and have them not voicing any sort of disdain against him for all the shenanigans that have been pulled. Okay, that's what that was all about. But as you see, it looks like it's not working because he had too much opposition. Okay, and I find it interesting because, I heard that someone tried to make the arguments. Hold on. I heard that someone tried to make the arguments. Hold on. Okay, I gotta pull this up. Yeah, I heard that someone was trying to make the argument that this, proves that we can get reparations. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Here's the thing. We know that they've given reparations in this country to many groups of people, to the Japanese, to the Italians, to the Native Americans, to the Jews. They've given reparations to a multitude of people, to the slave owners even, but they never gave them to us. So this is supposed to make them be convinced that they can do it? Absolutely not. They don't give us reparations because, quite frankly, they don't want to. I don't care if it's the Democrats or the Republicans. They don't want to give us reparations. If they did, we'd already have them. Okay, why do they keep telling us they're having these studies and all of that, these commissions to study it? They don't want to give us reparations, and they're never going to, as far as I'm concerned. So y'all can keep going to these reparations rallies, hoping and praying and wishing, like I keep telling you, but they're just not going to do it. How do you expect the same people who won't even admit the heinousness, the inhumane actions, the depraved and egregious things that they did to our ancestors were the most atrocious things in the realms of history? They won't admit that. That's what they won't do. But they'll give reparations to people whose atrocity didn't even happen on U.S. soil. Okay? I'm sorry, but I don't have any faith in them ever giving us reparations. They always have some BS excuse. And then you have the minions, the MAGA type, saying, oh, we don't want to spend our tax dollars, paying for reparations because we never owned any slaves. There's nobody alive that was ever even a slave. As if that should matter when they're still living off of the generational wealth that was generated specifically for them through our ancestors' hard work, okay, for free. So that's what that is. But the bottom line, exactly, Black Wall Street. I mean, and here's the thing. They make such a foolish argument to me because they don't just owe us reparations due to slavery. What about Jim Crow? What about black codes, redlining? What about all of the race riots and massacres? Okay, not just Black Wall Street. There was one here in Atlanta, in the Sweet Auburn district. Okay, what about the Detroit race riots? What about Florida, Rosewood? Okay, I mean, they've had them all over the country. What about Chicago? We could go on and on and on. What about all of the black cities and towns that they, in fact, flooded? What's under the water at Lake Lanier? Oscarville, a once black-owned town, a once all-black town, okay? So what about all the lynchings, past and present? Do I need to go on? What about the medical experimentation? What about medical genocide? I mean, what about stolen land, stolen property, okay, from people who look like me? 200 acres stolen from my own family by the racist devils. Okay, so I'm just saying, back in the 60s. All right, so I'm just saying, like, all of these things they do show you that they don't have any plans ever of giving us reparations. At the end of the day, we might as well accept it and move the hell on, okay, and focus on what we can fix. This is the time where you need to be quoting the Serenity Prayer, okay, because there are some things, people, that we just can't change, okay, and racism is one of them, because, see, we didn't create or invent racism. They did. So they're the ones that can fix it. It's not up to us. All right. And they could start by giving us the money, but like I said, they're not going to. Okay, they're not going to. Now, let's get into this report from today about this anti-weaponization fund. Okay, Trump drops it after the backlash. And I bet some people really thought Trump was going to give them that money and it was just going to be okay and everybody's just going to keep on moving. Yeah, right. Because here's the thing. People, most people that is, absolutely love money. And the minute you start talking about giving it to certain people and not giving them any, okay, like with us with the reparations, what did Bernie Sanders say? It's divisive. That's what he said, but he didn't feel that way when they gave it to his people. Okay, nobody complained either, despite the fact that their atrocity didn't even happen here. Nobody complained. Nobody who doesn't look like me complained about that. But they have so much to say about Black folk. Okay, please make it all make sense. But with that all being said, here's the thing. Some of the MAGA minions who weren't at the riots, they wanted their share of the money too. And since they knew they weren't going to get any, they were also complaining because that's what happens. Now, let's continue. Like, everyone, please like and share.
A rare reversal. The Trump administration appearing to back off plans for its $1.8 billion so-called anti-weaponization fund after a judge's order put it on hold. The Department of Justice saying it disagrees strongly, but will abide by the court's ruling. And President Trump telling ABC News if a court doesn't allow it, and right now a court hasn't held up, what can you do?
Donald Trump should be ashamed of himself for even coming up with this corrupt scheme in the first place.
Democrats called it a slush fund for Trump allies, but there was unusually fierce opposition from Republicans. Some even threatened to team up with Democrats to block it.
I do think that the best way to handle it is if the administration decides to shut it down themselves.
President Trump had defended the fund, created to compensate people he says were unfairly prosecuted by the Biden administration.
They weren't unfairly prosecuted. They should have been prosecuted. At the end of the day, they committed crimes. People lost their lives. Okay. Other people were injured. Okay. They went in there and smeared feces all over the wall. They tried to steal Nancy Pelosi's laptop. Okay. Do you all remember the pictures of the guy sitting there with his feet kicked up on someone's desk? Okay. A member of Congress's desk he was sitting at. All right, remember how they did the Capitol Police? Please, why would these people ever deserve anything? They deserve to be in prison, but Trump already freed them. So there's that.
These were people that were weaponized and really treated brutally by a system that was so corrupt.
But the bipartisan condemnation included a closed-door clash between acting Attorney General Todd Blanche and GOP senators.
This is just stupid on stilts.
Amid concerns the fund could be used to pay January 6th rioters.
It's deeply offensive to me that you could have a fund that could even possibly compensate people who assaulted police officers or vandalized the Capitol on January 6th.
Democrats are skeptical the administration is abandoning the idea for the fund entirely and are pushing a bill to officially ban it.
I'm glad to see some of our Republican colleagues speak out on this.
But there's a simple way to stop this and stop it for good and prohibit any future entertaining of even the idea of this kind of a slush fund at taxpayer expense.
With Congress back in session this week, the controversy over the fund had threatened to torpedo the bill Republicans are trying to push through Congress to pay for ICE and Border Patrol through the end of Trump's term. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is likely to be grilled about the fund and whether the administration is dropping it for good when he testifies on Capitol Hill later today. Craig.
Our senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez for us there. Gabe, thank you. Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today.
Now, with that all being said, listen, there's a new bill being proposed that would fuse the United States and It's Not Real's military. What do y'all think about that? Okay, I find it absolutely nefarious. Why would the United States military merge with any country's military, not just them, but any country's military? That means they're going to be sharing intelligence. Okay, that means whatever's going on with the United States, they're going to know. Now, we already know they know because Trump's in office, but what I'm saying is just think about that. A lot of this stuff that Trump's doing just rings of treason. Okay, that's what it is. All right, I find it very interesting, but let's go to this report from the Young Turks. And by the way, do you all know that the guy from Young Turks is now banned from the UK for being accused of being anti-Semitic because he dared to speak against BiBi and them? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He said they banned him from the UK. Let's get into it. I'm going to put an overlay over this. Here we go.
6 out of 10 Americans now hold an unfavorable view of Israel. It looks like the House is moving toward integrating Israel's military with our own, which would be a disaster. And it seems like the point here is to further conceal the amount of support and military aid the United States provides to Israel to carry out their border expansion project. Cenk, your 2 cents.
Exactly. So we're going to explain in this video here what the integration means. What does it mean to merge the US and Israeli military? I mean, it sounds so absurd when you say it out loud. And that is what they're planning to do now, our deeply disgusting, corrupt government. But secondly, why is it so dangerous? So we'll talk about that as well. Anna.
Now, this is a provision in what's referred to as a must-pass bill, right? This is the National Defense Authorization Act. It has to be renewed and passed every single year. And buried deep in the House's latest version of the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act is something known as Section 224, which lays out a complete marriage between the US and Israeli militaries. So as reported in Responsible Statecraft, Section 224 lays the groundwork for bilateral research and development, co-production of weapons, joint ventures, licensing agreements, and seemingly every manner of US-Israeli military-industrial complex cooperation. In fact, the report goes on to say that this provision would greatly expand coordination to seemingly every area of defense technology, including AI, quantum, autonomous systems, directed energy, cyber, biotech, and many more. It also proposes network integration and data fusion. In other words, the US military's data could soon be the Israeli military's data. And by the way, I mean, honestly, this just seems like a robbery to me. Like, we're already providing tens of billions of dollars for Israel.
Okay, the US is already complicit in their nefariousness. Also, wasn't it just about 2 weeks or so ago when Netanyahu came out and said that they were not going to keep taking money from the US, they're going to wean themselves off, but then he said he needed 10 years to do so? Please pay attention. Now, with that being said, let's go to this next clip where he talks about how, Jink talks about how he was banned from the UK.
Banned from the United Kingdom for criticizing Israel. Just happened. I was at the airport and they said the British government has rejected your visa. I already had a visa and they apparently pulled it. They had nothing on me that is in violation of British law in any way, shape, or form. They couldn't even charge anti-Semitism, but they said my criticism of Israel is by definition anti-Semitic, and hence I must be banned. So I didn't get banned for criticizing the United Kingdom. I got banned for criticizing Israel in the United Kingdom. And ironically, they said, well, the way you criticized Israel was that you said it controls the American government. And since we're the British government, we're not allowing you to criticize Israel. So you see how we are not controlled. No, I don't see that. Actually, that's deeply ironic. It sounds like you are. And I hadn't said you. I said the American government. That's because 94% of Congress has taken contributions from the Israeli lobby. That is true. I've been banned from the United Kingdom.
Okay, so freedom of speech is clearly dead. Okay, that's a distant memory, beloveds. No more of that. Okay, please pay attention. So, moving right along. Moving right along. Let's talk about Citizens Bank. They're calling for a boycott of it, and here's why. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. This is a report from Democracy Now! I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's 15 minutes. So I'm going to play about 5. Okay. With that all being said, they're turning on Citibank because they found out that they support ICE. And I'm not talking about the kind in your freezer.
Now.org. I'm Amy Goodman. We look now at a growing boycott against Citizens Bank amidst a campaign to pressure the corporation to divest from financing Core Civic and Geo Group, 2 of the nation's largest private operators of ICE jails. An interfaith coalition of dozens of religious groups in Boston said Citizens Bank has failed to adequately address its concern about financing private prisons. So the group is now withdrawing $1 million from its estimated $14 million account with the bank. The Greater Boston Interfaith Organization plans to continue pulling out $1 million at a time until the bank addresses its concerns. This is Senior Minister of Old South Church in Boston, Bishop John Edgerton, explaining the decision on MS Now.
We pulled $1 million out today. We transferred it to another bank because we want Citizens to stop doing this dirty business. Citizens is one of the only banks in the country that banks with and provides financing for Core Civic and Geo Group, 2 of the most notorious private prison companies in this country. This year, Emmanuel Damas, who is a neighbor, a Boston resident, a 56-year-old man, he died in Core Civic detention in Arizona from a toothache. He had a toothache. He complained about it. They didn't give him proper care. His toothache became an infection. His infection became sepsis, and he died. And these are the practices that Core Civic is notorious for and Geo Group is notorious for. And they will not be abusing our neighbors, not with our money.
That's Reverend John Edgerton speaking to Rachel Maddow. A Citizens Bank spokesperson responded to Democracy Now! In a statement that said, quote, Citizens is deeply committed to the communities we serve, investing $2 billion in 2025 to help build or preserve more than 8,000 affordable housing units, contributing over 265,000 volunteer hours and partnering with nonprofits across our footprint. People have strong and often differing views on issues like immigration. It's an important public policy debate, but it's not the role of the banks to set policy. Our role is to follow the law and apply our standards consistently as we serve all of our clients. Citizens Bank said to Democracy Now! For more, we're joined by 2 guests here in New York. Julie Cohen is an Oscar-nominated director who's made many films, including RBG, about the Supreme Court Justice. Everybody. My name is Polly Murray. She and her
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. If you want to see the full video, you can go to Democracy Now!'s channel and finish watching. But right now, let's talk about these Mexican cartels because, okay, this is all getting out of hand, according to reports.
Mexico just said something that every single U.S. citizen needs to hear. Take a listen.
¿Cuál es la mejor manera en que Estados Unidos tiene para apoyar a México? ¿Cuál es la mejor manera? disminuyendo el consumo, evitando que entren armas a México. Es la mejor manera que Estados Unidos tiene, y combatiendo los cárteles que operan en Estados Unidos. Porque como lo he dicho, ¿quién distribuye la droga en Estados Unidos? ¿Quién vende la droga en Estados Unidos? Entonces, si Estados Unidos quiere ayudar a México para disminuir la violencia en México, lo mejor que puede hacer es atender la prevención, la salud pública.
And she's right, because regardless of your opinion, Mexico's people do not have a problem with fentanyl. They are not the country consuming opioids at a rate so extreme that pharmaceutical companies and criminal networks have built entire economies around feeding the demand. And the weapons arming organized criminal groups, well, they're manufactured in the US and trafficked south across the border by Americans. And while the US is busy blowing up drug boats around the world, what exactly are they doing about the dealers operating inside the United States? Because you certainly hear a lot about other people, other countries, immigrants, drug boats, cartels. But somehow the conversation almost never comes back to the actual engine driving this crisis: US demand.
Mexico being blown up and y'all worried about Kali Uchis canceling her show? Early this morning, Mexican forces killed El Mencho, the leader of the powerful Jalisco Nueva Generación cartel. His cartel has been one of the most violent and influential criminal organizations in Mexico for the past decades. And now we're seeing retaliation all across Mexico. Roads are being blocked by burning vehicles, and clashes are breaking out between cartel members and security forces. In Puerto Vallarta, thick smoke and arson are being reported, and public transportation is currently suspended. I will say be careful, because a lot of the images being circulated online are AI, but the U.S. State Department and the U.S. Embassy in Mexico have both issued shelter-in-place warnings for Mexicans and Americans in areas like Jalisco, Tamaulipas, Michoacán, Guerrero, and Nuevo León, urging people to stay indoors during ongoing security operations, roadblocks, and criminal activity. Flights to affected airports have been canceled, and governments are warning tourists and residents alike to stay inside. And Cali Queen...
Hey, what's up, America? Horrifying update about the Mexican cartel war as they're now hunting down Americans. So we're getting word that cartel members are starting to try to hunt down American tourists in tourist areas like Puerto Vallarta and Guadalajara. We've also heard that Cancun has ordered people to shelter in place, and it's very difficult, if not impossible, to now flee Mexico. People that are stranded in the tourist areas are now being gouged by the resorts and basically being robbed. And there's open gun battles taking place all over the country as this seems to be spreading uncontrollably. Now, President Donald Trump has offered to bring in the United States military to take out the cartels once and for all. No actual word from the Mexican president yet. I'm hoping the president of Mexico will say, yes, let's send in the Marines, and then we can take out the Sicario problem. Nevertheless, cartel violence is starting to spread. I'll show you a video here on TikTok and YouTube coming up because it's getting very dicey down there. There were 14 killed, unknown amounts right now because gun battles are taking place between cartels, the National Guard, and the military and police right now. There is some word that tourists are being caught up in this. Not any word if people have been kidnapped, but that's kind of what we're hearing, and maybe some extorted, killed, and robbed. But I have heard multiple sources say that American tourists are being hunted down. So get the fuck out of Mexico if possible.
This is a warning to every American, regardless of your political stance and regardless of your skin color. Do not travel to Cabo San Lucas or any other tourist attractive place in Mexico, let alone that the Sinaloa cartel has just released 2 banners that they hung over 2 bridges saying that they are threatening Kash Patel, Claudia Sheinbaum, and the American people who are traveling to their country. This is all caused because of the United States interfering with the illegal substance trafficking into the United States. When I posted that video the other day warning everyone that's planning on going there, I immediately began to receive several messages from Americans that are currently on vacation in Cabo San Lucas. They are reporting to me that the owners of these hotels, the owners of the Airbnbs, are reaching out to them right now, telling them that they need to leave as soon as possible because the Sinaloa cartel is not joking around about this threat. They are going to be coming, and you have a target on your head if you are an American. They do not care about your skin color. They do not care about if you voted blue or if you voted red. They do not even care if you are a Mexican American. If there is an ounce of American in you, you are being advised not to travel to Mexico, especially to its tourist attractions. And a way that you can help us spread this message is not only liking and commenting, but share the heck out of this, because your lives, our lives, are worth looking after.
Okay, now, before we continue, here's the thing. Why are they targeting U.S. citizens? Well, because Trump can't mind his own darn business. Mexican cartels are violently retaliating and fighting for dominance due to intense crackdowns by both the Mexican and U.S. governments, internal civil wars as well, and intensified border security. Now, there's been high-profile takedowns. Mexican security forces, often assisted by the U.S. intelligence, have killed or captured highly powerful cartel bosses. Now, this has resulted in immediate retaliatory violence across multiple states, where remaining cartel members torch vehicles and set up blockades to project their strength. Okay, now they say there's been intensified U.S. pressure and CIA operations. Now, mind you, President Claudia Sheinbaum did not ask Trump for his help. And in fact, she has rejected his help on several occasions because I'm sure she knows if you give him an inch, he's going to always take a mile. Now, the U.S. has ramped up its stance on Mexican drug cartels, okay, bringing unprecedented pressure that has forced the Mexican government to take aggressive action. Covert operations by American agencies have even targeted mid-level operatives. The U.S. just can't mind their own business, cutting directly into cartel supply lines and operations. Now, bloody internal fighting. They say beyond government wars, major cartels are fracturing into bitter civil wars for territory and power. In regions like Sinaloa, these violent power struggles between cartel factions have turned cities into war zones. And then the border crackdowns, mass deportations, and increased border security measures are restricting the cartel's ability to smuggle illicit narcotics like fentanyl and Coca-Cola. Okay, and trafficking humans into the U.S. as well. Okay, so these people are beyond mad. Here's the thing. The problem with Trump is that he talks too much and he talks too loud. If he was going to offer President Sheinbaum his help, he could have done so discreetly, like behind closed doors, and then she could have rejected him quietly behind closed doors. But no, he has to post everything on social media. He has to be so boisterous about everything that he does. Okay, so now they know that the U.S. is interfering, and then you have the CIA conducting covert operations over there when they have not been asked to do so. Okay? So with that all being said, this is why the citizens from the U.S. over there have to be careful. But also listen to this next report, because there's something going on in Mexico that we need to be paying attention to. And I'm not talking about the cartels this time.
Listen, I need to update you on something that's happening right now. Not later, not someday. Right now. In Mexico, there are reports coming out of the ground itself changing. Not just cracking, not just shifting, but opening. Hot mud pushing upward. Steam rising where there used to be solid earth. And it's not just one place anymore. It's multiple. 11. And when you start seeing multiple points of the Earth doing the same thing in the same area, people start asking questions. What is going on under there? Now let me be clear. This is not confirmed to be a volcano erupting. This is not magma breaking through the surface. That is not what scientists are reporting. What this appears to be is something else, like a hydrothermal system. Pressure underground, heat, water, gas, all moving through fractures in the earth that already exist. And when that pressure shifts, the surface responds, sometimes quietly, sometimes suddenly, sometimes in more than one place at once. That's what makes this situation interesting. Reports are describing multiple openings, multiple vents, multiple points where the ground is releasing heat and material. And when that happens, it tells you one thing very clearly. Something underground is active, and it's looking for ways out. But here's the part people need to understand. Even when this is not volcanic activity, it can still be dangerous, because hydrothermal ground is deceptive. It can look solid and be hollow underneath. It can carry extreme heat just below your feet. It can release steam and gases without warning. And it can change faster than people expect. That's why experts take it seriously, not because it's necessarily an eruption, but because the ground is no longer behaving normally in that specific spot. So when you hear people online saying new volcano forming, that's not confirmed. And when you hear people say it's nothing, that's also not responsible. The truth is, in between, a shifting underground system, active, unstable in places, but not verified as magma-driven volcanic emergence. And that distinction matters more than anything, because visuals can look dramatic, and the internet can run faster than the science, but the ground doesn't care about theories. It only responds to pressure. So what do you take from this? You stay aware. You don't approach unstable ground. You don't stand near steaming soil or cracks. And you wait for verified updates instead of viral assumptions, because sometimes the earth does strange things without it being the end of the world, but ignoring it completely, that's where people get caught off guard. So just stay alert, stay grounded, and don't let the visuals outrun the facts, because this is one of those moments where attention matters, but exaggeration doesn't, and clarity is everything. Till next time, remember, we're all in this together. One love.
Okay, I find it very interesting that you all were all saying that you couldn't hear him. I could hear him just fine. He was talking low, but I could hear what he was saying. So basically, he was talking about the hot mud that is bubbling in Mexico. Okay, so let's talk about it. Like some everyone, please like and share. Hold on, let me pull up my receipts. Okay, so here's the deal, folks. The earth beneath a quiet backyard in El Salitre, Mocoacan, did not give much warning before it tore itself open. Now, for generations, the people in this rural Mexican community knew they lived atop restless land. The region sits directly on the Trans-Mexican Volcanic Belt, okay, a subterranean highway of magma and tectonic friction. But no one expected the geothermal underworld to claim a family home. So, with that all being said, it began with a low rumble. A vibration felt more in the soles of the feet than heard. Within moments, the ground fractured. A violent hiss shattered the afternoon quiet as a subterranean valve blew wide open. A towering column of scalding water, thick gray mud, and blinding steam shot nearly 50 feet into the air. Now, the heat was instantaneous and absolute. The boiling deluge rained down on the property, scalding mud, proving instantly fatal to the livestock trapped in the yard. Okay, so I want you all to picture this. Picture this hot mud mixed with like dirty water or whatever, just coming up out of the ground all of a sudden, like boiling hot. Okay? Now, with that all being said, 50 feet into the air, the heat was instantaneous and, quite frankly, absolute. Now, they go on to say the high pressure blast chewed away at the earth from the inside out, swallowing topsoil and stone until a gaping, boiling crater over 13 feet wide sat where dry land had just been sitting minutes before. Now, panic quickly turned into coordinated action as the sulfurous stench of volcanic gas began to heavy the air. Neighbors shouted warnings. Civilian protection sirens soon pierced the valley. First responders moved with frantic urgency, cutting through the thick steam to evacuate terrified families from the immediate perimeter. This all sounds real scary. Now, they raced against the clock, hauling away residential gas tanks before the intense heat could trigger a secondary explosion. By the next morning, an eerie quiet fell over the neighborhood, punctuated only by the heavy, rhythmic burping of the newborn mud volcano. The violent 50-foot geysers had subsided into a thick, churning cauldron of burning gray sludge. Nearby, a local preschool sat quietly and completely empty, its doors shuttered to protect children from the toxic gas drifting through the streets. Today, the backyard remains a heavily guarded hot zone, cordoned off by yellow tape and armed officials. Scientists and geologists now walk the perimeter with sensors, measuring the toxic fumes and monitoring the unstable, collapsing ground. They're listening to the earth, trying to determine if this sudden eruption is a temporary release of pressure or the permanent birth of a dangerous new landscape. Ooh, that all sounds crazy, does it not? Look at Buckhurst, DC says, sounds like all hell broke loose. Exactly. Okay, exactly. All right, so this is all real scary at the end of the day. Someone wants to know, is the mud toxic? Let's see. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you in advance. Yes, absolutely. The mud from the Mokiakan hydrothermal vent is highly toxic and poses a severe hazard to human health. The toxicity of geothermal mud and its surrounding environment stems from several factors, and those include high chemical toxicity, because this mud is forged deep within the earth by magnetic heat interacting with underground bedrock. It brings up this highly concentrated chemical compounds. Okay, brings up these highly concentrated chemical compounds. Now, the geothermal features of this nature typically contain heavy metals, naturally elevated levels of toxic elements such as arsenic, mercury, lead, and cadmium. And it's very highly filled with acid. Okay, Acidity, high acidity. Geothermal mud pots are often acid sulfate features. Okay, the mud is mixed with sulfuric acid, which can cause chemical burns on top of thermal burns if it touches the skin. Lethal volcanic gases. Now, the mud itself is actively fueled and stirred by a continuous upward rush of toxic subterranean gases. Now, these include hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide. And the thermal destructiveness is also a factor. Beyond chemical toxicity, the physical mixture is a scalding hazard. The slurry retains intense heat, bubbling at boiling temperatures around 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. This extreme heat is what initially killed livestock on the farm and makes physical contact instantly damaging. Okay, like I said, this all sounds real scary. This all sounds real scary, but if you all want to know what else sounds scary, let me just tell you. Let me just tell you. Because here's the thing. I had a dream last night, you all. Or shall I say sometime this morning. You all know that I have my prophetic dreams between the hours of 2 and 7 a.m. because that's when you're in the state of REM. You're like in a really deep sleep. So prophetic dreams usually occur around this time. So I had a dream about a zombie apocalypse. Yeah. And this is a dream that I absolutely hope does not come true. And you all know that when I have these dreams between 2 and 7, and I remember them like they were a whole movie when I wake up, they usually come true. Now, I'm hoping and praying that this one doesn't. Okay, I'm going to pray to the Most High for more discernment just to try to be more sure. But I had this dream that there was a huge event going on and I was at it. Now, maybe I was just at it because of the dream. I don't know. But nonetheless, there was a huge event going on and people were turning into zombies. Okay. It kind of reminded me, the dream, how it was playing out. It almost reminded me, or kind of reminded me, of the movie. What's the name of that movie and why can I remember it? The movie that we all saw. What was that movie with the vampires? Somebody tell me. I don't know why it escapes my mind. What was the name of that movie with the vampires with Michael B. Jordan? Somebody put it in the chat. Now, y'all know I saw that movie twice. I don't know why the name of it escapes me at this point. You all know what I'm talking about? That's what it reminded me of. It's like Sinners. There you go, Sinners. Thank you. I knew it was something with an S. I just couldn't think of it. Okay, so it reminded me of Sinners because there was this huge building. There was a lot of people in there like partying, and like there was different sections of the building. I mean, like not different sections, but there were like different events going on in this same building, right? Some people were just chilling, some people were eating food, some people were playing music, and just different things going on. But then somebody looked outside and they saw something happen. And they started screaming and they were like, oh my God, you all look at this, look at this. And so people ran to the windows to look outside. And when I looked outside, what I saw was somebody being bitten, like literally being eaten. Okay. And then I saw these creatures, clearly zombies, coming towards the building. So everybody runs and tries to find a place to hide. When I tell you this was so scary, it literally woke me up out of my sleep. And when I woke up, it was like 6 o'clock, just a little bit after 6. That's how I know I had the dream within the time frame that I normally have these dreams. But also remember that when I have these dreams that come true, they always wake me up out of my sleep. Okay, please pay attention. Okay, now I'm not saying there's going to be a zombie apocalypse. I'm just going to tell you that in 2020, I absolutely told you about a zombie apocalypse. Okay, and the preparedness plan by the CDC and the Pentagon. And I also told you that they don't have those for a reason. Now, they can sit here and try to lie all they want, but at the end of the day, They don't have those for a reason. And then Trump the other day came out and said that there is a medicine, experimental medicine, that they've been working on that can literally bring the dead back to life. There was a guy in hospice, the family was already gathered, and then all of a sudden he was well after they gave it to him. So I'm just saying, was Trump lying? I don't know. But at the end of the day, this all sounds real crazy to me. And that dream really is concerning as far as I'm concerned. Okay? Please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, everybody better be hoping, wishing, and a praying that this is one dream that doesn't come true. Now, let's get into what Ro Khanna said, okay, about this whole thing, the Section 224 that they were just talking about on the Young Turks, about our military merging with It's Not Real's military. Because, hey, if that happens, it's just going to look like our military is also involved in things that are going on that are nefarious, that we know the IDF soldiers are absolutely doing. And also, let's not forget, in case some of you may not even know this, but you do realize that It's Not Real trains our police officers, specifically the NYPD. Did y'all know that? I know some of you knew because I told you that before years ago. But yeah, they train some of our police officers. So when you wonder why the police treat people who look like me so low down and nefarious, I believe that's absolutely why. Okay? I believe that's absolutely why. Because in my opinion, they treat the people in Gaza the same way they treat us over here. Maybe worse. Okay, definitely worse, in my opinion. But nonetheless, okay, so let's hear what Ro Khanna has to say.
Thomas Massie and I are teaming up again to remove Section 224 from our defense bill. Section 224 is a first step in integrating our military with Israel's military. I'm a senior member of the Armed Services Committee, and I will be introducing an amendment to remove Section 224. Basically, the establishment has figured out that direct aid to Israel is unpopular. So they want to do an end run around the foreign sales process. The foreign sales at least requires a commitment to upholding human rights. Under this section, you would have a fusion of the United States and Israel military, so there's no human rights test and no vote on aid. We need to strip Section 224. Thomas Massie and I are...
Yeah, they definitely need to strip that as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so now with that all being said, I'm going to go to this clip of this hot mud, as they call it, in Mexico. I forgot I had footage. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you in advance. Y'all, we really need to be praying because it's a whole lot of nefarious things going on. The devils are absolutely busy and the demons walk amongst us. Okay, don't forget. That looks like boiling hot lava. That looks just like boiling hot lava. Like, that is really scary. Okay? Monsieur says NY police raped a man too. Yeah, they did. They did, and more than once. Remember that African man? Was it Abdul Diallo? Do you remember that African man who they beat and then they stuck something up his rear? The NYPD absolutely did that. They absolutely did that. Okay, low down dirty devils. So, you know, like I said, now we see why. Now we see why. Okay, so that being said, let's go to this clip from Jolly Good Ginger. We're almost out of here. I have a couple of more points to show you all. This is Jolly Good Ginger. He said, cancel me, be mad at me. I don't care anymore. I'm done. Now, why is Jolly Good Ginger, who's usually jolly good, why is he so upset? Let's get into it.
cancel me when I'm done with this video. I don't care. Do what you want. I don't care. I'm done. I'm done. I'm finished. I'm done. I'm going to say the thing. I'm going to say the thing. And when I'm done saying the thing, I'm going to tell you the truth. And when I'm done telling you the truth, do with it what you will. I don't give a fuck. If you want to cancel me and, you know, never hear another video from me again, cool. I'm cool. I don't care. Here's the thing. I'm going to say the thing. And what I'm about to say is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I actually don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about it. Whether you're on the left, whether you're a liberal, whether you're a moderate conservative or far right, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. If you're a leftist watching this and you want to leave a fucking paragraph in my comment section about how you feel, just know I'm not reading the comments. I don't give a fuck. I'm about to say the thing that needs to be said that I've been avoiding saying for a long time and that nobody else is saying on the internet. Because if you say it on the internet, it could end poorly for you. But I don't care. I'm going to say it anyway. And here's the thing. What's happening right now in this country is already past the line. We've already passed what should have been the line for revolution. What's happening right now with ICE and with everything else is our Boston Tea Party, right? Like our Boston Tea Party moment. Like taxation without representation. Well, we are at the point where we don't have rights. We've sacrificed all of our rights so that corporations can be rich. We've sacrificed all of our rights so that billionaires can exist. And I don't give a fuck how you feel about that. That's the fact. I don't care, by the way. I'm not speaking to just blue voters. I'm talking to everybody. If you're a conservative or whatever, listen to me. I'm talking to you too. This is a class war that we're losing, and we fail to acknowledge it because we're so divided upon these fucking blue-red lines that we've lost our fucking way. Listen, go look at what's happening in Delaney right now. Go look at what's happening. The police are literally arresting everybody just for protesting. The First Amendment, there's a reason it's number one. The First Amendment is dead. It died. It died, motherfucker. It died this year. With everything that happened in Chicago and D.C. and Minneapolis and L.A. and now in New Jersey and every place in between, the First Amendment's dead. If you think our First Amendment rights still exist, you're a fucking lunatic. I'm posting this. When I get done recording this, I'm going to post it on the internet. And there's a chance that I could face DOJ federal charges and indictments for me saying this out loud. And that thing is that we need a revolution. We need people to take to the streets and say, fuck it all. That's it. We're done, dude. If we don't have our 1776 moment right now, we're about to pass the point of no return. And people are going to say, oh, Johnny, you shouldn't do that. There's still hope. We can still win the midterms and take back the House, and we can still fucking hold them all accountable. You're a delusional motherfucker if you believe that. I don't give a fuck. Cancel me. Cancel me. The governor of New Jersey is a Democrat governor that everybody was happy that she won the seat. Yay, Mikey Sherrill won the governorship. And she's the one that's sicking the state thugs on you right now. The governor of my state, Virginia, where I live, everybody was happy Spanberger won. I mean, even I voted for her. I was happy Spanberger won because fuck having a Republican governor. She vetoed the rights for unions to fucking have collective bargaining. She vetoed regulations against ICE. She had a massive veto against a bunch of things that our Democrat majority House of Delegates gave to her, because at the end of the fucking day, the Democrats are nothing more than moderate conservatives. We don't have a left-wing party. We don't have it, motherfuckers. And if you think the fucking Democrats winning the majority in November is going to save us from this shit, then we're just going to be back here in a couple of years any goddamn way. The status quo is what got us here. The Democrats uphold the status quo. If you're a staffer on Capitol Hill and you're watching this video and you never want to let me talk to your fucking congressperson again, I don't give a fuck. I'm done, dude. I'm done. I'm punching my fucking card. I'm punching my fucking card. Not enough people are fucking angry. Not enough people are in the fucking streets. A revolution is not happening yet. It needs to. It's still not too late, but god damn it, it's almost too late. And if motherfuckers don't get involved, right, go look at what's happening in Delaney Hall right now. Go look at what's happening in Delaney Hall tonight.
Let me tell you all something. He's absolutely 100% right about the things that are going on. At the end of the day, here's the thing. The scary thing The scariest thing that nobody's talking about is what Trump said. Comments that Trump made a while ago. Nobody said anything about it. I guess they didn't hear. Okay, I'll talk about it later, maybe tomorrow, because I don't know if I'm coming back today. If I do, I'll definitely talk about that. Now, with that all being said, he made some very good points. All right, at the end of the day, people were out there having the No Kings Day, the No Kings protest and all of that. I feel like it was all going too far when they murdered Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy. It was all gone too far then. When we saw what ICE did in broad daylight in front of everybody and they didn't give a darn, and there was no charges pressed or any of those things, it was already gone too far then. Okay, it was already gone too far at the end of the day. And like I told you all, ICE is out here terrorizing the streets, but they're not only looking for immigrants, okay, they're looking for citizens too, okay, to put in those camps. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, let's go to this clip where this guy says, protect your Black friends, because they say we warned you. Let's get into it.
Because they're the ones that have always been warning you about what the fucking white man does when it feels like it cannot get caught. Protect your Black friends because they're forgiving you already for how fucking stupid you are, for allowing this continue to grow and infect other people. Protect your Black friends because they are the ones that never had people go to their part of town and understand what they were carrying, how they brush off the disrespect and the inhumanity and still show up and perform better academically, spiritually, emotionally, naturally, not because they're trying to prove something, because they are this. And white America and everybody that comes to America with white conception of America protects that, defends the white dominant story, which means that Black people are inherently need to be held in suspicion. Protect your Black friends because they've experienced this dehumanization for 400 fucking years. And they'll still pray you do something else. Protect your fucking Black friends. Because the world is too eager to devour Black pain in justification for its own inhumanity.
All right, shout out to him. Protect your Black friends. Now, with that all being said, Lauren said they would rather delete us. Yeah, of course they would, beloved. I absolutely agree. Okay, I absolutely agree. So, I have a couple of videos I want to get into. One of them is this murder that happened here in Atlanta on the MARTA, at the MARTA station. This 66-year-old Black woman was stabbed to death. Okay, multiple times. Let's get into it.
We've learned from the arrest warrant that the victim, 66-year-old Margaret Swan, was stabbed 18 to 20 at times, and that the suspect, 25-year-old John Elijah Matthews, was located on the platform here at Oakland City Station shortly after the stabbing, and that other riders were able to give a description of his clothing to MARTA police before he was taken into custody. And now, very soon, in about an hour and a half, we know he's going to be making his first appearance from Fulton County Jail. MARTA calling this incident a senseless act of violence. Now, after the stabbing, we know trains here in Oakland City, they were stopped temporarily on Saturday, and about 100 passengers were transported via shuttle to their final destinations. Let's take a look now at some of the violent MARTA incidents that have occurred since 2020. This includes buses, trains, and also parking lots. 17 homicides, 349 aggravated assaults. Majority of these incidents happening on trains. Now, this stabbing comes a little bit about a week after another stabbing happened at Georgia State train station. A man was stabbed there multiple times, but he survived. And we were also here in Oakland City about a month ago after a teenager was shot and killed while getting off on the bus here. Now, one woman we spoke to says she does not feel safe riding MARTA, even with security present.
Hearing someone was stabbed just initially anywhere that's crazy, honestly, especially for our families too, because the call that they have to, receive, like, hey, she has passed, I feel like that's That's traumatic.
And in a statement released over the weekend, MARTA says that they are actively investigating the situation. They also say they do understand the fear this may cause riders.
We begin with a woman stabbed to death at a MARTA station. Thank you for joining us for Fox 5 News at 10. I'm Christopher King, in for Eric Perry. Police say it happened this afternoon at the Oakland City location. They arrested a male suspect on the scene. Fox 5's Annie Mapp reports riders are concerned.
It's disturbing to hear.
A woman was killed while taking the MARTA train Saturday afternoon.
It's crazy. Just need more security for real.
It's unknown what led a male suspect to stab the victim at the Oakland City train station, but police are calling the tragedy a senseless act that had witnesses.
There's no instance even, if you get in an argument with anybody that you have to kill them.
According to authorities, medics treated the woman at the scene, but she died from her injuries. The crime led the agency to briefly suspend rail service at the Oakland City station.
It shouldn't happen. It should be more MARTA police around.
Other riders also think more security measures are needed for public transit.
They really need to block it off where homeless people can't come in because it's been bad out here. Instead of just walking straight in, have something to buzz them in so it'll be like everybody accounted for.
A MARTA spokesperson says they are still investigating the incident. She also says the safety of employees and riders is a top priority. Reporting in Atlanta, Annie Mapp, Fox 5 News.
All right, so we just got the arrest warrant surrounding what happened here at Oakland City train station when a 66-year-old woman was stabbed here over the weekend. We've learned that this was unprovoked, completely random, and that the suspect stabbed this woman 18 to 20 times, and that he was actually located after other people on the train identified his clothing and told MARTA police. He was found nearby on the platform and taken into custody.
She was a phenomenal mom, and just for him to do that, it's unforgivable. I don't forgive him. I would never forgive him, ever.
I would like MARTA to put the police back on the trains and monitor them like they used to, because this is the act of senselessness that could have been prevented.
Why do we got to keep protecting ourselves from men? These men are evil. What are we supposed to do? She was 66. She was frail. She was small, 4'11", barely weighed 100 pounds. He's a coward. That's what it is. You're a coward.
He close to my age, so it's just like, there's no way you could just think like that and just do that to an innocent person like that. It just don't sit right.
Considering that someone had just been killed a month prior at the same train station, so it definitely should have been some security ramped up at that train station.
Absolutely egregious. Prayers and condolences to the family. Okay, this is all so sad. Now, Buckhurst, D.C. kept saying, is he foundational? Where's his family from? Does it matter? Does it matter where his family's from? Does it matter if he's foundational? The man killed somebody. Okay, and I think that he possibly has mental health issues, because for him to just turn around and start stabbing somebody that many times, I don't know. They need to get crazy people off the street. They need to reopen mental health facilities. Like, this is all getting out of hand. Like, I'm so tired of seeing people walking down the street talking to themselves. Okay, but Buckhurst, D.C., to your point, what difference does it matter where his family is from, beloved? Do you want to act as though Black people from America don't do such things? Is that what you want to act like? Like it's only Black people that come from other places? Because I assure you that the Black people who live in America are the main ones who do such things. Okay, that's just a fact. Look it up. Now, with that all being said, it is what it is. Okay, because sadly, Black people from America just can't seem to unify. Okay, so now let's go to this next report, because, some people had a whole lot to say about the fact that these athletes, these Black athletes, have been told to boycott going to any of the colleges in the South or whatever. So here's what some people had to say. I thought it was interesting.
D.L. Hewley said, what if Black college athletes refuse to sign to schools in states that gerrymandered districts to exclude Black representation? Let's talk about it. And I do believe that the bigger question is, what if white college athletes refuse to sign to these schools in these states? Schools like University of Alabama, all of the schools here where I live in Florida, University of Florida, FSU, Miami? What if they refuse to sign with University of Texas, Texas A&M? The reality is that black people have always been forced to do the heavy lifting. Racism is not a black people problem, it's a white people problem. It is white history. The reason why this systemic racism continues to exist is because too many white people are silent. Too many white people feel like if it doesn't directly impact me, then I don't have anything to say. Too many white people don't want to experience the discomfort, the lifestyle changes. And what our silence is saying is that it's okay. Silence is violence. Silence is showing complicity. Because let's just keep it real. If the same type of discrimination and marginalization and racism was happening to white people today in this country, everything would stop. Everything would be shut down. The truth is, there's a lot of white people who profit from and exploit black excellence, and they'll do it in this situation right here. And the reality is that there are many elitist white folks who write these checks that know that black families have been marginalized and robbed of generational wealth for centuries. Of course they're going to want to sign that NIL deal and go to that school. These rich white folks need black people to perform, and that's it. Shut up and dribble is what they'll say. You want to take a knee, Colin Kaepernick? We'll show you the power of the system. The question is, when will more white people stand up and say what's happening in predominantly black communities is not okay? And what these politicians are doing is not okay. When will white college athletes stand in solidarity with the black athletes who carry the team, whose merit is the only reason why these schools are as powerful as they are?
Wait till y'all hear this shit.
I mean, I said it 3 years ago. Yeah. Let them break away. I'd say I would turn it around and say we should break away from them. Let them go. But they have to go in all their sports and see how fun it is to play baseball and softball and track when it's just the 20 of you. And that's what I think we should do. But I'm one person, and that's probably a little more draconian. But that's how I feel about it. Like, let's quit talking about it. Quit threatening.
All 20 of them, huh? Black men make up 44% of college basketball athletes. They make up 40% of college football athletes. Black women make up 28% of college basketball athletes. Black men and women combined make up 22% of track college athletes. And college sports make up about $20 billion each year. He's right. We should stop talking and put our money where our mouth is. He's right. We should walk away. Let's see how they like it when only they are playing the sport. Let's see how much money they can generate without our talented black men and women. Let's see how many games they win when we are on a team together. When we're no longer carrying them. Don't you for 1 second think that a lot of them aren't thinking the exact same way he's thinking. He's just bold enough to say it. As a biracial black woman, I can assure you, they're all the same, and they all think the exact same way.
Hold on. With that all being said, listen, they absolutely need to boycott them now after all that. And I absolutely believe that the rest of those people standing there listening to him all probably feel the same way. Okay, it's all very interesting. And they would be so unseasoned and boring and bland, okay, if there were no black people playing for them. Okay, we all know that. Okay, we all know it. At the end of the day, Greta says black fatigue. Yeah, exactly. And so I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, they absolutely need black athletes. They're trying to act like it doesn't bother them. Are they trying to give us the reverse Uno card? Like, sit down somewhere. They know darn well that it is only because of the black athletes that they win any games, that they make money, and any of the other things that come along with it. Okay? And so POP says all white sports are mediocre. I mean, I've never been to a hockey game, and I've never watched a soccer game either. I've never been to either. So, but the interesting thing is black men created hockey. Did y'all know that? Yeah, black men created hockey. So anyway, with that all being said, listen, I'm about to conclude this broadcast. I'm out of here. What I wanted to say is that there was another white guy who did a very compelling video that I wanted to show you all, but I could not because he had music playing in the background. But he had some really good points. He was saying that not only should the black athletes boycott and not go to those schools, he said the white ones shouldn't either. He said he's tired of them making black people do all the heavy lifting. That now it's time for the white folk to do some of it, okay? Because they're the ones that tend to benefit the most. And I absolutely agree with him, okay? We always do the heavy lifting, okay? That's why when something goes down, all the other races want us to come to the rescue, specifically the white race. Black women, we know we haven't been there for you, but please, this is about women's rights. It's about our reproductive systems. Remember that with the Karens? Admitting that they never stood by us with any of our issues, but then wanted us to stand up with them when it was Roe versus Wade about to be overturned. Y'all remember that? Remember when they get out there and protest, and if we don't get out there, they get mad. Black people, where y'all at? Okay, where y'all at? At the end of the day, you know, rightfully so, they should be calling on us and asking us because, in fact, we're their parents. Like I keep telling y'all. Okay, everybody came from black people, and at the end of the day, they're nothing but our terrible, nefarious, disobedient children that have gone astray. Okay, and hopefully someday they'll return home. But until then, it is what it is. All right. Greta said, Karen, help yourself. Quiet Storm said, I like hockey because they fight. Okay. With that all. He said, ask the pappy. Anyway, I am so out of here. You might come back later because I really need to tell you all what Trump said. And he was dead serious too. Okay. I really need to tell y'all what Trump said. All right. But yeah, I'll probably come back at about 7. Okay, maybe 7:30, but probably closer to 7 this time. Okay, because I don't want to be in here long. And the video is not going to go over an hour, okay? Because I'm working too hard and doing too much. With that all being said, listen, tune in at 7 o'clock. If you don't get a notification, just check the channel. All right. So with that all being said, listen, I love you all to life. I hope you all enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. And if you missed the broadcast from last night or yesterday, please go back and watch at your leisure. Okay, so until next time, peace.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece. This time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating